Happy Friday. Welcome into another edition of Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. On today's show, we will go over your questions as I have answers to give you in another Seahawks Rumors Mailbag. Before we get to that, though, I want to make sure that you are subscribed to Seahawks Today. You may be saying to yourself, Tyler, how do I contribute? How do I get involved in the Seahawks Today mailbag? Well, the only way you can do so is by being an award-winning subscriber to the channel. Our subscribers-only mailbags each and every week here on Seahawks Today. You go to youtube.com/SeahawksTV. Each week on our community page, we ask you to submit your questions there. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe now. Go to that community tab. Send in your questions to be a part of our next mailbag. First question this week comes from Andre. Andre wants to know, if Baker is not proven mature enough for the job, Geno may be suspended. Do you go with Locke and not keep Eason? Also, why not just eat this year and wait until next year's quarterback draft class? All right, so two parts to that question. Let's break that down piece by piece. In regards to Locke versus Eason, I have seen nothing that would indicate that the Seahawks have any faith in Jacob Eason at this point. They have not talked about him at all. He is somebody that has been out of the picture. He is well behind, it would appear, Geno Smith and Drew Lock in this quarterback competition. The second factor in that, too, is that you brought in Drew Lock in that trade, in the Russell Wilson trade, and essentially you took him over getting maybe some draft capital. You don't go through with that trade if you weren't intent on keeping Drew Lock, even if it's as a backup or having a role for him of some sorts. The franchise values Drew Lock on that front. So, to me, that's a couple things to look at on that regard. Now, the idea as far as tanking and waiting for a guy like Bryce Young, here's the deal. Okay? This is not a knock on Bryce Young at all. This is just based on what I'm hearing. That when you look at next year's draft class, whether it's Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, very good quarterback prospects. We are not talking about them in the same regard that we have in the past of the likes of Trevor Lawrence or Andrew Luck, those type of quarterbacks. I think you could justify tanking if it's for that tier of quarterback. But we haven't seen that same discussion of that type when it comes to those two. So they are better than this year's class, but they're not, I don't think, tank-worthy necessarily on that front. But good question there. Next question comes from Shades. If the Seahawks really are going to bring Baker in, why are we waiting? Cost aside, having him in the building with our guys ASAP is critical for any quarterback to a new NFL team. Well, let's go over the timeline of things. Last Wednesday, we heard from Josina Anderson the Seahawks had high-level interest. Then last Friday, the Seahawks and Mayfield reports were out. They both had mutual interest. And then last Sunday, we hear that they were nearing a trade agreement was the report that was out. So I would think they're trying to iron out some pieces here and there. You know, we're to the point where they're almost about to ask out Baker Mayfield. But they're trying to decide what clothes to wear, what car to drive, where are you going to dinner. Those are the things that the Seahawks are figuring out right now, is those little fine details. Is L.J. Collier going to be involved? What kind of draft capital? How much of the salary? There's a lot in these details here that are still being worked out, but I think a deal is going to get done. What do you guys think? Is a deal going to get done? Is Baker Mayfield going to start week 1 for the Seahawks? This is our pinned comment today. You're about to get an ad break. Take advantage of it. The statement is Baker Mayfield will start week 1 for the Seahawks. Type T for true, type F for false. Let me know if this is a lie or if this is the truth. T for true, F for false. Let me know. Next question comes from Arsenal Apex, also on the Mayfield front, using hashtag Seahawks and hashtag Papa Jones. I don't know why you all are still trying to make that a thing. I'm nobody's papa, but sure, whatever. Producer Chug says I'll be somebody's daddy. Oh, okay. That escalated quickly. Here is the idea that's been brought up by Arsenal Apex. Here's a Mayfield trade idea. We give Cleveland a 2023 fifth-round pick and L.J. Collier. Cleveland pays half of Mayfield's salary. Thoughts? I don't know if Cleveland wants anything to do with L.J. Collier personally. Seahawks haven't seen really anything impressive from L.J. Collier, and he'll be lucky to make the final roster when it's all said and done. I know the Seahawks would like to get rid of him and try to get some capital of some sorts if they can, so I could see that being an option. Now, as far as eating salary goes, if they could eat half of that, I think you'd feel great. And giving up a fifth-round pick, to me, that's not a bad trade idea at all as far as that goes. You kill two birds with one stone. You get your quarterback and you get rid of L.J. Collier in the process. I think you'd be open to that idea. I think that could be one of the things maybe holding this up from happening. Maybe it's trying to get L.J. Collier involved here. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. Thanks for the question there. Next one comes from James Smiley. James wants to know, is Pete Carroll washed up? Personally, I think we have a better chance of seeing a Bigfoot in the Northwest at a Microsoft party before we see another Super Bowl. Woo. That's a lot to take in. Is Pete Carroll washed up? I'll say this much. You know, Pete Carroll is going to be a Hall of Famer. He's already won a Super Bowl. Of course, he won 2 national championships on the college football level as well. There's a lot about Pete Carroll. But I do wonder if his best days are behind him. He's largely to blame for the departure of Russell Wilson, for the change in the offense, not playing to Russell Wilson's strengths. And now we're going to see, did management choose Pete Carroll over Russell Wilson? If they did, if that's true, that's a mistake. He has a lot of pressure on him, I got to tell you. And I know that his record's good as a head coach. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been there, done that. But at this point, the way the league is changing and some of the decisions, very questionable decisions that he's made, dating back to the Super Bowl loss of the infamous goal line pass, I think we've all questioned Pete Carroll a bit. So, yeah, I can see the hesitation there when it comes to Pete Carroll as far as that goes. I totally understand where you're coming from. You know, I'll say this. Pete Carroll, I still rather have than most coaches in this league. Say what you want, and you have a reason to be upset or question the decision-making of Pete Carroll over the years, but he's still a whole lot better than a lot of coaches in this league. I know that much for sure. Do you trust Pete Carroll? Let me know in the comment section. Y for yes, in for no, one way or the other, if your trust is in Pete Carroll at this point. Y for yes, in for no. Now, we're offering a great deal for Seahawks fans today here on Chat Sports. This is a T-shirt and long sleeve combo, and it's 25% off. Available now at chatsports.com/Seahawks combo. What a deal. And it's throwback, too. This is the Steve Largent days, the old AFC Seahawks that we're selling here. Get a chance to be styling and looking good for every occasion. Long sleeve, short sleeve. Can't really wear a long sleeve much right now, but I guarantee you'll be glad you had that later on in the year. Get yours today while supplies last. Chatsports.com/Seahawks combo. It's chatsports.com/Seahawks combo. Next question comes from Dat Fat Rat, also using hashtag Papa Jones. Why is this a thing, people? Why? Daddy Jones would be much better. I think so. Here is the question. It is, could a Shaquem Griffin reunion happen to add a bit of depth at middle linebacker and maybe at starting middle linebacker? Okay, Shaquem Griffin is one of the best stories, I think, in football of the last several years. What he did at UCF and getting drafted, getting to play with his brother and everything there. But, I mean, in all honesty, the success just hasn't been there in the NFL for Shaquem Griffin. You know, spent 2018 through 20 with the Seahawks. He was a practice squad player for the Dolphins last year. 25 tackles, 1 sack in his career. I just don't really see a need for him. He hasn't been, anything special in the National Football League. Great story, and he certainly means a lot, and I love everything about that. But at this point, I don't think it's necessarily a great idea to bring him back to Seattle at this point in time, just because, throughout however many years he's been in the league now, 3 or 4 years, the production just simply isn't there for Shaquem Griffin. But nonetheless, a great story on that front. Seahawks Today is with you each and every day here on the channel, covering the Seahawks like no one else is. And if you haven't already, make sure that you are subscribed to Seahawks Today. Turn on those notifications as well. We're covering this team throughout the entire offseason, leading up to training camp, and we'll have all the news and rumors as we count you down to kickoff right here on Seahawks Today. Never miss an episode. Subscribe now, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. That's youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Before we go, a final question from one of my favorites. Trying to judge yo engine by yo paint job wants to know, I still have some Russell Wilson stuff hanging on my wall in my man cave. What should I do with it? Or I guess the question is, what would you do with it? Okay, here's my idea. Here's my idea, folks. I thought about this one in depth a bit, and this is what I came up with. So here's what I would think, okay? Who is the relative or friend that you just absolutely hate the most? Who is that one relative or friend that you end up having to give a gift to them when the holidays come around or for their birthday, but you don't want to give them a gift, but you kind of have to? We all have those type of people in our life. That person, give them your Russell Wilson gear. Say, hey, I know you're a Seahawks fan. I was thinking of you, maybe do that. Or, look, Russell Wilson, I know that there's some hurt feelings right now, and that's understood, but he's still going to go down as one of the greatest Seahawks of all time. Won a Super Bowl, was here for a while. I mean, that stuff will age well later down the road. So if you don't want to give it to somebody you hate, then go ahead and keep it. Hang on to it, and it'll be a nice possession or two later down the road. Trust me on that. I know it doesn't feel good right now, but I understand on that front. Thanks for watching today's show. Hope you have a great 4th of July weekend. If you made it to the end of today's video, go ahead and type 12 in the comments, and we'll see you next time here on Seahawks Today.